Have you ever heard that girls are anatomically or biologically driven to seek out their father's approval? It sounds weird if you think about it now, but this is actually one of Sigmund Freud's most well-known theories about women. And while his ideas were definitely controversial even back then, they've continued to influence ideas about female psychology and identity even up until today. So let us take a look at what he said and why people are still talking about it over 100 years later. Welcome to our channel, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. In this video, we'll be looking at one of Sigmund Freud's more controversial theories about women and the lasting effects it had on psychology. If you like uncomfortable truths, stay tuned till the end because, oh boy, there are some gems in here. Chapter 1, Freud's Theory of Female Development. Now, before we get into the juicy bits, we need to cover some background first. You see, Freud's ideas about women came about during the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when society had very different views on gender roles and expectations than it does today. Back then, most people believed that women were naturally submissive and that their role in life was to get married and have children. This is the Victorian idea of feminine modesty, which was extremely popular in Europe and America from the 1840s to the 1900s. This ideology suggested that women should be pure, obedient, domestic, and completely self-sacrificing. They should put their partner's needs above their own, and they shouldn't do anything that could bring shame to their family name. And by the way, whatever that meant, it usually meant sex, period. So that was the social context in which Freud was writing. But that doesn't mean he just went along with it. In fact, he challenged a lot of these traditional ideas about women. Freud's ideas about female development were presented in a few key works, most notably his 1925 paper called Some Psychical Consequences of the Anatomical Distinction Between the Sexes. In this paper, he proposed that female psychology is fundamentally shaped by one thing: penis envy. Yeah, you heard that right. According to Freud, little girls develop penis envy at around the age of 3 to 6 years old, during what he called the phallic stage of psychosexual development. At this stage, kids are very curious about their own bodies and the bodies of those around them. Freud believed that little girls become particularly fascinated with their father's penises and wish that they had one themselves. This penis envy is said to be a source of great psychological conflict for women, as they feel a sense of loss and incompleteness without the penis. As a result, women are said to develop a desire to be with their fathers and win their love and affection, which leads us to point note 2, chapter 2, Oedipal feelings. So let's talk about the Oedipus complex. You might have heard of it, maybe in a joke, maybe in a meme, maybe in a conversation about your weird uncle. Yeah, that's probably because it's pretty wild. The Oedipus complex is a psychoanalytic theory originally proposed by Sigmund Freud in 1909 that describes a child's sexual desire for their opposite sex parent and the accompanying feelings of jealousy and rivalry towards the same-sex parent. Freud believed that these feelings were a natural part of childhood development and that children go through an Oedipus phase at around the age of 3 to 6 years old, roughly the same time as the penis envy stage. During this time, the child is said to be fixated on their own pleasure and gratification, and they don't really understand the social norms and rules that govern sexual behavior. So they may act out by touching themselves inappropriately or by trying to seduce their parents or other adults. Obviously, this is not something that happens consciously. We're not talking about adults here actively choosing to seduce their children. Instead, it's all unconscious urges and desires bubbling below the surface. So how does this apply to women? Well, according to Freud, girls go through a similar Oedipus phase, but instead of being attracted to their fathers, they are attracted to their mothers. They envy their mother's body and desire to replace her in their father's affection. This is called the Electra complex, by the way. However, Freud believed that this desire is ultimately unfulfilled because the girl realizes that she cannot compete with her mother in the eyes of the father. So she gives up on her romantic pursuit and redirects her energy towards more appropriate objects of affection, namely other men. Now, it's important to note that this is just a theory. There is no real evidence to support the idea that women specifically are driven to replace their mother and their father SIs. But nevertheless, it's become a cornerstone of Freudian psychology and has had a significant impact on how people think about female sexuality and desire. And now we move on to chapter 3, why women love bad guys. So let's talk about a phenomenon that I'm sure you've all seen at least once, the woman who goes for the bad guy. Why do women go for jerks? Well, according to Freud, it all comes down to their unresolved Oedipus complex. He believed that women who remain fixated on their mother will unconsciously choose partners who remind them of her. And since the mother figure is often seen as nurturing, caring, and self-sacrificing, it makes sense that women would be attracted to these traits in a partner. However, the mother figure is also often seen as restrictive, smothering, and overly critical. And this is where the bad boy type comes in. According to Freud, the bad boy is the perfect match for the woman fixated on her mother because he embodies everything that the mother does not. He's rebellious, dangerous, and exciting. He challenges the woman's sense of morality and challenges her to break free from the constraints of her upbringing. Of course, this is a very cynical view of relationships and reduces the complexities of human attraction and bonding to a simple desire for forbidden fruit. It ignores things like shared values, common interests, and emotional connection, focusing instead on the subconscious mind games that people play when picking a partner. Chapter 4, Penis Envy and Castration Anxiety. Now let's get back to the whole penis envy thing. You know, the idea that little girls are so obsessed with their father's penises that they literally want one themselves. That's a hard pill to swallow, even for someone like me. But according to Freud, penis envy is actually a big deal. He believed that this envy is so intense that it causes girls to experience something called castration anxiety. Basically, they think their mother might cut off their genitals because she's jealous. Okay, that sounds ridiculous, but hear me out. Freud believed that little girls unconsciously fantasize about having a penis, but they also fear that their mother will punish them for wanting what she has. This fear stems from the Oedipus complex because, remember, the mother is the one who can't be replaced. She represents everything the girl desires and everything she fears losing. By cutting off the girl's penis, the mother would be punishing her for wanting to take her place. Chapter 5, The Legacy of Freud's Theories on Women. Now, whether you agree with Freud's theories or not, there's no denying that they've had a huge impact on our understanding of female psychology. His ideas about female development, the Oedipus complex, and penis envy were groundbreaking for his time, and they helped to shift the focus from morality and societal expectations to the unconscious mind and early childhood experiences. Freud also paved the way for future theories on female sexuality by introducing concepts like the Electra complex and castration anxiety. These ideas may seem radical or even offensive today, but they were revolutionary for the time period in which they were introduced. Freud wasn't afraid to tackle controversial topics like female sexuality and challenge the status quo. And that's something we should all admire. But yeah, Freud's theories on women are not without their critics. In fact, they've been heavily debated and scrutinized since they were first introduced. Many people believe that Freud's theories are rooted in sexism and that he used his own personal biases to shape his ideas. Others argue that his theories are based on inaccurate observations of children and that his ideas about the female psyche are simply wrong. But that's the thing about theories. They're supposed to be challenged and debated. It is through this process that we refine our understanding of the world and come up with new and better theories to replace the old ones. Freud's theories on women may be controversial, but they are still important to understand because they had a profound impact on the field of psychology and continue to influence how we think about female sexuality and desire. I mean, think about it. Even if you don't agree with Freud's ideas, his theories have at least given us something to talk about. And in a world where mental health and wellness are finally being taken seriously, that's a good thing. So next time you find yourself cringing at Freud's theories on women, remember that he was onto something. He may have been wrong about some things, but his ideas helped to pave the way for a deeper understanding of the female mind. And that's something worth celebrating. If you found this video interesting, check out this video next to learn more about one of Sigmund Freud's most famous theories about dreams. See you there.